I've been on campus now for 3 years. I started the addictions minor program 3 years ago, and from that point started providing counseling services, and from there last year kind of stepped into this role as the Director of Diversity, Advocacy, and Health. Kate and I today are going to be talking about mental health, substance use, and wellness. And as a way to kind of address that, what I'd like to start off with is just to have you all stand up for a second, because one of the most important aspects of wellness is those self-care strategies. And I know we all got done with our morning duties and just probably finished lunch, and our afternoon sessions are always the most fun to do because everyone just got done eating. But I want you to close your eyes. Again, making sure that you're staying balanced. And I just want you to focus on breathing. And all those cares, concerns, and worries about the afternoon's agenda or that big stack of paperwork that's waiting on your desk as you get back, or all those emails that you have to go through. I just want you to focus on your breathing. And it's normal and natural for your thoughts to go to those places, and just non-judgmentally and with compassion, bring those thoughts back into your breathing. Good. So go ahead and open your eyes and sit down. I think one of the most important aspects of this whole presentation today is really those self-care strategies that we all need to practice, because if we are not practicing what we preach, then we are, hey, say it louder. Dana, say it louder. Hypocrites, absolutely. And one of the things that's really important to recognize that, and I really want to start this conversation off, that please know you as staff and faculty here on campus have resources available for you. And those resources are directly through your HR department, and we have EAP benefits in relationship to addressing some of those specific issues today. Because one of the things that's most important, and I'm going to start off our presentation this way today because I think it's important to kind of understand the impact of this. We've done this for a couple of times, and I've gone to a number of the classes this semester to talk about addictions in relationship to its impact that it all has. And what I'd like you to do, without kind of identifying yourself or anybody that you know, but if you know somebody close to you who has a drug and alcohol problem, I want you to stand up. Know somebody close to you who has a drug and alcohol problem. And I want you just to take a look around, because all these individuals have a significant impact in relationship to what those issues mean to all of us as individuals. Now, I want everybody else who knows of someone, whether close or not, that has a drug and alcohol problem to stand up. And again, I want you to take time to kind of look around and kind of see the impact that this has. This is, by the way, thanks very much, you guys can sit down. This is probably one of the most important aspects of this conversation I have, because whether I say it's for substance abuse, whether or not I say it's for mental health, or whether or not I say it's for suicide or loss by suicide, the numbers are about the same, that about 85% of us have been impacted in some way or another by one of these issues that we're going to be talking about today. So before we get into that, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. Kate?
Hello, I'm Kate Simons. I'm the Student Health Coordinator and Prevention Specialist on campus. I've been here since January. My master's is in mental health counseling with a focus on college student development, and so that's why I'm here.
Awesome. And Kate is also part of the SAMHSA grant that we have on campus, which really gives us the ability to target suicide prevention and prevention efforts in general that we're addressing here on campus. My name's Bob Lang. Again, like I said, I'm the Director of Diversity and Advocacy and Health, but in addition to that, I'm also a licensed clinician, and I've been doing this for way longer than I want to admit to. And in doing that, I have come to understand that one of the things that interferes with our ability to be able to access services is the stigma that's associated with being able to seek help. So one of the things that we're really going to be focusing on today is how we can encourage and support individuals within our own group, within our own teams, within each other, and with our students in relationship to engage in those help-seeking behaviors. So we're going to focus on those things by talking about behavioral health and wellness. We're going to talk about prevention and intervention, and we're also going to discuss all the challenges that we face here on campus in relationship to advocating for those. But I want to start off by saying that this is the first year in Colorado Mesa University history, or Colorado State College, or Colorado Grand Junction Junior College, that we have a student wellness center on campus that's accessible for all the students that we have in relationship to being able to provide those services. And something I'm very proud about that we were actually able to start on campus. How about a round of applause for that? It's awesome. So when we talk about behavioral health, my favorite quote from Plato in relationship to this, and this is how long this divisiveness has been going on in relationship to how it is that we treat those things, is that oftentimes we're seeing things either from a medical standpoint or from a behavioral health standpoint. And what we need to do in looking at changing our views about those things is moving towards a place where we can see the holistic aspect of that in mind, body, and spirit. And when we're doing that, then we're able to kind of move from a place where we're talking about things from an illness or a diagnostic perspective and moving to a place where we can kind of start talking about wellness and health. Not to be too political, but I also think that, again, Bill Clinton was right on when he said that it's the stigma that we really need to worry about in relationship to what's preventing individuals from getting the help that they need. So wellness goals, again, we want to start with promoting health. Then we kind of want to move to preserving health. Then we want to kind of make sure that we're restoring health once we don't have it anymore, and then moving to a place where we're minimizing suffering. And that really is the goals of what wellness are all about. And one of the things is, I love word plays, and this is one of my favorite ones, is that when we take the I and we replace it with we change illness from to wellness. And I think by becoming more wellness-focused as opposed to illness-focused, it gives us the ability to start minimizing the stigma that's associated with those things. So when we're talking about prevention strategies, it all starts with primary prevention. And that primary prevention is all those things that we're doing with everybody on campus, which includes our marketing team and sending out information regarding all the information and resources that we have on campus, which includes the things that we're doing with MAVASCs and other things. So it really is all of our efforts in relationship to kind of providing those things from a general education perspective. Then we move into secondary prevention, which gives us the ability to kind of then start addressing those individuals that are at risk and then kind of providing education and resources for those individuals. And final is tertiary, before we actually move into the intervention strategies. And tertiary standpoints are really about being in a position where we're preventing them once they've happened a second time. One of the things that I've always thought of my role as a clinician is really to work myself out of a job. Not so much here on campus, but to work myself out of a job as a counselor. And I like what Dr. Mayo talked about in relationship to the goal of medicine. And when we talk about that, it really is to prevent the disease, prolong life, and the ideal is to kind of work ourselves out of a job. So these are the big three issues, and talking to staff and faculty that impact all of our lives, whether those lives are associated with athletics, or whether they're associated with academics, or whether they're associated with discipline on campus. These are the big three issues that all of us are faced with as challenges. And one of the things I'm definitely most proud about is the work that our students here do on campus. And we are very fortunate to have a very active NAMI group here on campus. They have some brochures out on the table as you leave. Make sure you kind of look at that. Dr. Jake Jones in the psych department is the head of faculty advisor for NAMI. And our students put together this video. directed, acted, edited, and put together by our students here on campus. And they did a fantastic job.
It is a dark time, and it's very hard to think that you're going to get out of it. And like I said, it feels like everybody is honestly just living their life and going about their day and succeeding and being, them and having fun, and you are just kind of in slow motion and in a blur almost. And
you don't have that support from your friends or your family, you're just always going to struggle. And that being silent is the worst thing to do. And there may not really be any right way to come out to someone and say, hey, how are you doing? Can I help you? Like, there is no scripted way to approach someone. But doing nothing and just staying silent is definitely worse.
I wrote a song for you.
Seeking treatment, I met with my doctor, just kind of talked about what was going on, and, realizing and finally admitting, that I may be living with anxiety and depression, and so that's a huge step, admitting that and accepting that, and then moving forward, and so.
Your skin, oh yeah, your skin and bones turn into something beautiful. And you know I love you so. You know I love you so.
Really driven to create a place on campus where students could talk about mental health issues in a safe environment, where they could share ideas, where they could talk openly and freely and not feel judged.
In this age group, there's a lot of stigma attached to it, and I think it would be great to break that, because I think coming up here we have different perceptions of the way that people are and what mental illness looks like, and that's not necessarily the case. And I think a lot of times I've gotten to know that there are residents that have mental illness living in the dorms, and I think a lot of people don't know that and can't relate to that, but they have no idea that their roommate or the person down their hall that they're really close with has something that they're experiencing that they can't see.
The biggest advice and the biggest piece I could give is to start small, and the power of one person.
To anyone on campus who's concerned about a friend or even someone you just see every once in a while, it's just to ask and to know that that can make the hugest difference. I mean, it's really that simple.
Mental illness is so much more common than people think.
It's not about I am doing this alone, but rather we, as an entire student body.
If you want to fight that stigma, if you want to be in an environment where you're not going to be judged, and where people are open about these issues and willing to talk about them and address them head on.
As a friend or a student or a classmate or a sibling, whatever you are to those around you facing mental illness, we are doing this together.
Because we know that, not talking about them is the worst thing you can do.
And I did have that support system, and I think everybody, even if you don't have a mental illness, you should have that support system in case anything were to happen.
What you're talking about?
Okay, you're good. We're back.
We're here for you, and a good advocate for mental health.
Look how they shine. Look at the stars. Look how they shine for you. And all the things that you
So Jake, come on up front. And I know this was unscripted and unplanned, but I want to invite our NAMI students out here because they have done a fantastic job in relationship to doing that. You don't recognize, come on, Come on, give them a big applause, exactly. And one of the things you don't realize is the impact that these things have until you see it. And I've been using this for orientations in relationship to how that kind of stuff and kind of letting new students know about those things that we have going on campus. And during the presentation, I saw a mom crying in the audience and went up to her afterwards. And just kind of checked in and make sure that she was okay. And just I couldn't help but notice that you had a very emotional response to that video. And she said, yeah, I just am really impressed with what you guys are doing here on campus, because when I was going to school, they didn't have that. And I suffered with mental illness, and it was really difficult and challenging for me to be able to kind of get those services on campus. And so you guys and Jake are making a huge difference in relationship to that impact that we're having here on campus. So why? Why is it an issue? And one of the things that I've come to understand is that, and these statistics kind of speak for themselves, and this was both done by the Center for Collegiate Mental Health and SAMHSA, and that when you kind of look at adding all those percentages together, it represents a lot of our students. A lot of our students have these issues, and this SAMHSA the SAMHSA survey that was done, and this is prevalence in mental health on college campuses, study that was done in 2011. 50% felt hopeless once over the last year. 49% felt overwhelming anxiety. 44% felt overwhelming anger. 84% felt mentally exhausted. And so if we're talking about a significant issue in relationship to if we have 11,000 students on campus and 85% of them are experiencing some kind of mental exhaustion as a result of what's going on, the statistic that stands out the most for me is that only 40% of them will actually reach out for help. Only half of those individuals will reach out for the help that they need. And so part of our mission is really kind of focusing on what we can do to shift the culture of what we're doing here on campus to minimize that stigma and really encourage those help-seeking behaviors. And so when you're also looking at the impact of what relationships do, because in a sense, everything about who we are is based on the relationships that we have with other people. And if those relationships are setting us up to be at risk, we want to pay attention to those things. These are things that we need to be mindful about when we're having those interactions with students here on campus and with others on campus, so that when we're seeing those aspects, we're seeing those risks and warning signs, we can get them referred to the places where they need to go. So not only are we talking about relationship issues and mental health issues, but we're also talking about substance abuse. And again, this was a survey that was done in 2011 by the National Institute on Drug Abuse and SAMHSA. That there are over 1,800 college students that die each year as a result of drug and alcohol abuse. Over 600,000 college students each year sustain alcohol-related injuries. 3.3 million college students drive under the influence of alcohol each year. One of the things that we do here on campus is, and we started this 2 years ago now, the Prime for Life classes. We actually have 36 students in these classes right now. And this is kind of our secondary prevention level efforts in relationship to redirecting some of those things that are taking place. And if you look at what we're really kind of focusing is that those students that we have here on campus, this is those times when those lifelong patterns of behavior follow them throughout the rest of their lives. And so if we have an ability to step in and kind of empower their own personal choice in being able to deal with these difficult and delicate issues in their life, then we have done a tremendous advantage for them, for their families, and for all those other individuals that we're talking about the impact of what these problems have in their lives. So, It all starts with each one of us. And that is based on our ability to connect and have those relationships with those individuals that we're working with. Because we are the front lines. We are in that position where we're being able to see those things as they present for the first time. And in doing that, we need to kind of be mindful about how it is that we're interacting and working with each of those students that are coming to us. And then know how to and when to refer. And I think by doing that, then we can kind of really step in and make a difference when it comes to those relationships that we have with those students. So it's really important to kind of understand the do's and don'ts. We want to make sure that we're, just like working with anybody, that we want to make sure that we're doing it in a private environment, that we want to make sure that we're giving them our full attention, that we're not working on deleting all those emails in our calendar as we're talking to the students as they're in our office. We want to make sure that we're also establishing healthy boundaries and that we're also acknowledging concerns. But I think most importantly is that we need to kind of create this attitude of compassion. That attitude of compassion is really what's going to be related to the student when we're working with them. And by doing that, we can make sure that we're not rushed, that we can minimize the judgments that we're using, that we can be realistic, that we're not going to force anybody into support, but we are going to hold them accountable, and that we're also going to minimize our own internal critics as well as the external critics that we use in relationship to dealing with those things. So I think one of the biggest problems that we experience with communication is that we communicate and we focus on what we're going to reply with as opposed to listening for understanding. And that by doing that, we find ourselves in a position where we're not really listening. And listening is the key to any communication. It all starts with that, by being able to ask those powerful questions. Asking questions is really where it all starts, and we can do that by being really simple, by saying, tell me what's going on. It's that simple. If there was one thing I would say about questioning, is make sure that it's open-ended and not closed-ended, because you open the opportunity for a dialogue to start when you use open-ended questions. So these are some of the warning signs. Again, I think the most important thing is just to kind of see if there's a drastic change in what you have come to notice about the student. So if they're not coming to class, if they're coming to class disheveled, or if they're showing up to practice and they smell like booze, or if they're having any kind of thoughts about suicide, then those are when you want to ask those questions. Tell me what's going on. So how many of you have had difficulties and challenges finding the Student of Concern report form? Come on, don't be shy, because I couldn't find it either. I had a really hard time finding it. The Student of Concern reporting form. So there is actually a way that we can track and intervene, and not only intervene, but provide the opportunity to do outreach for those students who are in need, and that's through the Student of Concern reporting form. We also have a Students of Concern meeting that meets every Thursday, where we kind of talk about the resources and how to connect students to those resources on campus. And there are two places to find it. One is on the website, and under the University Life tab, if you click on that tab, you can go to the campus safety, and by clicking on that tab, it takes you to the report of concern. On that page, it'll have a button, a radio button that'll take you right to the reporting form itself. The next place you can find it is on MavZone. And this is one of the challenging places for me to find it, because I always go to faculty and staff. But it's on Work Life, and it's under the Student Concern tab right there, and you can see that the report form. However, the easiest way to find it, and how I used to find it, was in the Google search, in the search engine on the web page. It'll take you right to the Student of Concern reporting form. However, you don't have to fill out a form to get people help. And I think the things that we've been the most successful with is when staff and faculty members, when they're meeting with somebody and they have a concern, they bring them over to our office. They bring them over to the mentor's office. They get them connected in that aspect of what a warm handoff is. And there's nothing more powerful in relationship to making those connections than doing that warm handoff.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about suicide prevention and awareness on campus. And just, I guess, to disclose about myself, this is a topic that is very near and dear to me. I recently went to my 10-year high school reunion, and 9 students had passed from my graduating class, and half of them had been from suicide or suspected suicide, and 2 of those were very good friends of mine. And so, I mean, it's always, and both of them actually, it was during college. And so it's something that really does happen, and it is real and it is painful. And I think anything that we can do to help support students it's crucial. I mean, it doesn't take much. And so that's I guess the perspective I'm coming from. So what we are doing, we've started a campaign. It's called Mavs Ask. Approach, Speak Up, Know Your Resources. That's what the ASK stands for. And it's basically just encouraging students to seek help and give help, and knowing what to look for, why they would approach someone, what do they say, where do they take them. And as the same for you all, we're not asking you to be counselors, we're not asking you to save anyone, we're just asking you to be the conduit, to be the person that gets them where the student needs to be. And so that's sort of where we're headed with this. Let's see. Oh. And so here are some resources that are available to you and to the students. On campus, there's Bob and myself, who are all also available. We also now have a wellness center, and it is on campus. It is very close. Yeah, woohoo! And that's an amazing resource, and I think it's just going to get a lot of use, and it's just going to be a bigger program. And I think the more we use it, the more people will see that it's necessary on campus. So please feel free to take students there, send students there. Another really great resource is Albers Hall. If you're not quite sure if this is something that is imminent, you can always bring them to Albers Hall, and we have people on staff who can help. And they're all ASSIST trained, which is the Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. And so they're all able to ask the question about suicide. We also have the Mind Springs Mobile Crisis Unit. And this is a really fantastic resource. And it's fantastic because they will come to campus and they will do an assessment, and they will come to campus in just a regular car, and they'll be in regular clothes, and they will make an assessment right there and then, right where the student is. And so that is really nice, because if you call 911, which you should if that's what the situation requires, they come in a police car, they come in uniforms, and if they take that student, they're taking that student in handcuffs in the back of a police vehicle, which can be incredibly traumatizing and can exacerbate the situation. We also have the National Suicide Lifeline. This is a great number just to have in your phone. You can call for yourself. You can also call, just be like, hey, this is what's happening. What do I do next? And they're always on 24/7, and they route you to the local unit, which is, I believe, through Mind Springs. And then we do have the Western Colorado Suicide Prevention Foundation, and I'm on the board for it. And so we do a lot of events, mostly for the community, but if it's something you would like to be involved in or would like to see more of, please let us know. As far as training, we do have a few options. There is the ASSIST, and it's a 2-day training. It can be pretty intense. It's 2 8-hour days, but you come out of it feeling very much confident in your ability to intervene. There's a huge, oh my gosh, brain fart. They do a lot with practice, like practical use. And so you actually get to practice and gain confidence using the words, knowing what to say, and it's just very helpful. I took it twice last semester. We also have the brief suicide intervention training, which is something that is homegrown on our campus with the help of Dr. Becker and Danny Sandoval. And it is just a 1 to 2 hour training, and it goes over, what the warning signs are, what to say, where to take people, and then there is a practice element to it, so you do get more comfortable asking, are you thinking about suicide? And then we have BSAT, the Brief Suicide Awareness Talk, and this is not any sort of practical use, it's just information. And so these are all available to you. We have a couple set up for faculty and staff that will be announced. We also have a sign-up sheet outside at the table. If that is something you are interested in taking, we do have funding to cover the assist, so it will be free of charge. The next one is coming up in January. It's the Monday and Tuesday before school starts. And then BSITs and BSATs can actually be done in your classroom if that is something you're interested in, or for your staff. Yeah.
So these are some of the things that we're doing on campus in relationship to changing the culture. And that culture is really, again, moving from illness and diagnosis to really kind of focusing on wellness and health. And so some of those things that we have, and some of you have been involved in some of those, are all these aspects that we talked. We have 2 really great new online resources that are available. One is You at CMU, and the other one is You Lifeline. You Lifeline is actually a really great resource for all of us, because you can actually go on there and do a student, or actually just a personal wellness assessment. And there's some really great things that we've got going on campus that really give us the ability to address all those things. But again, and I can't put enough plugs out there for the Student Wellness Center, because I'm really excited about what we're doing with that on campus. You guys have maybe seen this video. If not, it's actually listed on the Student Services webpage. But our marketing department and our students put together a video that really kind of explains what we're moving towards as far as changing those cultures, changing those hearts and minds of everyone here on campus, so that we can move towards accomplishing getting students to the resources they need to.
I'm taking a stand.
I'm speaking up because at Colorado Mesa University,
we don't turn a blind eye to someone who is hurting.
Mavericks know that everybody should be able to live free of harassment,
intimidation,
sexual assault.
We aren't going to ignore the warning signs from members of the Maverick family.
We're taking a stand.
We're taking a stand.
We're taking a stand.
At CMU, when we see something that isn't right,
an unhealthy relationship,
an act of violence,
substance abuse,
someone who may be at risk of suicide,
someone who isn't giving consent or can't give it,
abusive comments or bigotry,
we do something about it.
Mavericks approach those who need our help.
Mavericks speak up.
Mavericks are there for each other.
Mavericks support the safety and inclusion of all.
Colorado Mesa University stands together in the prevention of violence, assault, suicide, substance abuse, and prejudice.
How many of you have seen that video? A lot of people, good. And again, I think it speaks to the heart of what we're really trying to do in shifting the culture of really taking a stand and kind of asking those questions that are difficult and challenging. So I know you have them, and unlike most trainings, I'm going to actually ask you to bring them out, and that's your cell phones. And I want you to get to your photo. If you're old school, that's okay. And I want you to take a picture of this, because these are all the resources that we have on campus and all the numbers that give you the ability to access those instantaneously. And just like we talked about with the Students of Concern Forum, sometimes it's difficult to navigate through and wade through all the things that we have here on campus, and this really gives you a direct link to those resources that we have here. No, but if you email me, and I'm the only Lang in the system, so if you email me, I'll send you a copy of this so that you have it.
We also have a resource list out on the table.
So I'm going to leave that up there because we are going to move into questions. And I really want to start by saying that I really appreciate your time, energies, and efforts because in working with the students that I work with here on campus, you guys do an amazing job. I'm proud to be a part of the Mavly that we have here on campus. And we're all part of that family, and I think that the more we're able to connect those resources, the better we will be able to do of being able to address those students who are in need.